Oh damn, it's in already, yo.
Welcome back to another episode of Terry Thornberry Performance.
Yep, you guys have already heard it. We're back here with Poison Ivy, almost finishing off the truck, but not just quite yet. Because I'll tell you what, we definitely have just a couple little bit more spicy things to finish up. But let's start off the video with this. Take a second, soak it all up in. The beautiful chrome motor, everything that we've done to show you guys what was all polished up. It's now sitting in the acid green engine bay. Boy, does it look killer.
And that's complementing everything around you.
I do say so myself. Moving on to that, motor's looking great. Can't have the motor looking just as good because we need to have the outside surroundings as well. So me and Terry went through the whole entire engine bay harness, went ahead and cleaned a lot of that up. So you guys are gonna see how that turned out from the last video. Also went ahead and installed that short shift on the trans. So you guys are gonna see how nice and tight it feels in the cabin with the single cabin instead of the king cab, how we have it on Fred.
We also trimmed up the interior, cleaned up the interior as well.
Oh, yeah.
So you're welcome, Marlon, because
Yeah,
I know you've seen the last video on how disgusting it
Well,
looked.
we're not on the ballpark yet. We still got a couple more wires to go. Terry actually trimmed up the seat, so you guys are gonna see how that looks. That looks pretty gangster too, because it's got the armrests on there. So you know, when Marlon's on the phone talking, you know, I was gonna say something.
Talking with Patty.
Yeah, talking with Patty. Yeah, talking with Patty. So we gotta get some things going on for the day. Let's start wrapping up. We'll show you guys the motor. Jonah's gonna show you guys. Let's get the day started, and let's see how much things we can get knocked out today. Well, I know you guys have already got an in-depth view on how the motor looks, so you guys are gonna comment below on how you guys think she looks. You guys already know we do sell the KA to 720 engine motor mounts. So we're just gonna talk to you just a little bit in-depth on how they basically work, how to properly install them, and then the overall function on basically how you get with the final product.
And what you need to remove to make sure the motor fits in this nice position that it sits in.
Yep, so we'll just make it real quick. Step one, just removing the sway bar. It allows for the front sump to actually clear everything. With these trucks, if you're really going for handling and performance, the sway bar is not gonna be your main problem. The rear end is gonna be the limiting factor. So you really have to put a lot more suspension work into that. So take away that front sway bar, put in that bigger motor so you can actually overtake some people on the freeway. That's step one. Step two is gonna be basically now taking off your old motor mounts for your KA and now putting on obviously the Terry Thornberry Performance motor mount kits that we give you guys so you can install them on the truck and have a nice tight fit in between the firewall. And obviously when you put a radiator and the intake, you have clearance everywhere around.
And you guys still keep your stock 720 OEM motor mounts.
Motor mounts and as well trans mount bracket, and it allows for the transmission shifter to sit basically in the OEM spot in the cabin. So all you're really doing is just trimming up your seat and not really anything inside the trans tunnel. So now moving on to the final thing, installation. It's a very simple process. It's a little bit of work, but like I said, it's a bigger motor and a smaller chassis. You're gonna leave your passenger side motor mounts on, fully bolted onto the block, slide that into the dial pin. The driver side, you will fully remove the motor mount from the block. You will slide in the mount into the pin by itself and then lower the motor onto the bolt holes, the 4 bolt holes from the motor mounts to the block. guarantee you will not have a problem as long as you just slowly lower the cherry picker and you have someone guiding the bolts in as someone's lowering it. You'll get it in every time, guarantee. Once you have the motor mounts in, your trans will be sitting on the cross member, so you don't have to worry about that yet. Then once you get the car in the air, you guys will see what we have to do to the trans bracket and what you guys have to do just to pick it up a little bit. But moving on to the next thing in the engine bay, it's just basically showing you guys what else we did to this thing. I'm gonna have Terry kind of finish that off and let him show you guys on what else is the goodies on this whole girl.
Just making sure when you're putting in the motor and trans, just making sure that when you're putting in the trans is on top of the cross member. Now with that being said, we're just gonna dial in the engine bay with all the wiring and show you guys the most important wiring that you guys need to keep and retain for a 12-volt constant, and make sure it's hooked up to a battery terminal.
Alrighty, so we're underneath the car, as you guys can see. Finally telling you guys about the shifter location. You guys have already seen how nice and well it sits inside the cabin. Now we're gonna go ahead and finalize basically the trans being mated up to the OEM chassis. So there's two key factors you're gonna need to have. You're gonna need to have the OEM trans mount from the 240SX and the OEM trans bracket from the 720. Now there's gonna be a little bit of modifications you need to do. Going off topic, the big reason why we kind of don't sell a trans mount bracket for the 720s is because there's so many factors on the trans and the cabin that a lot gets changed, meaning single cab, king cab, if you're going with the OEM trans, if you're going with the 240 trans, if you're keeping it automatic, there's just a lot of variables. So it kind of eliminates the headache and guessing work on our part. So I'm gonna show you guys on basically what to do if you're in this scenario. I've kind of done any 720 trans and it's kind of gotten me to work it out. You're gonna see kind of hangs a little bit on the side. On your chassis, you're gonna see there's a couple bolt holes. There's 1, 2, and there's gonna be a couple more right on the side. You're gonna try and bring the closest forward up. That being said, you're just gonna go and cut these ears off to give it a little bit more room. Once you found the location on where your trans mount is going to sit, these holes right here are going to be where it bolts onto your transmission. On the 240, these holes here are going to be what bolts onto your trans mount bracket. So what you're gonna do is you're gonna have a piece that gives you another 2 inches to bring on top of your bracket. You'll now mark your holes to where it is on your OEM bracket from the 720 and obviously the 241. Now this is where it kind of gets a little bit weird, but this is where now where everyone can be their own fabricator. If you have another idea that works better for you, perfect, go by all means. For this, we always want to make it utilizing the OEM mount, so when you do need to service it, you're not running into a headache, you can go and change the part out nice and quick. So what we actually do is we re-drill the holes to line up to the trans, and we probably use about, it's probably like a 1.5 foot bolt from the bottom of the trans bracket all the way to the transmission, and we literally just sandwich it all down together. So it still allows you to utilize the rubber mount from the trans to not make it a solid, but as well gives you enough room so when you want to service it, you can just take the bolts out and service it. So it's best of both worlds. Like I said, at the end of the day, me and Tara work on this, and we're trying to get you guys to work on it and not make it hard in your garage. So we're trying to make it easier on both ends. So that's the drive shaft. I'm gonna go ahead and get that worked on, go ahead and put on. We do have a couple other things that we need to show you, but we are waiting on the drive shaft and some fuel pump accessories. So we're not gonna be able to start it yet, but we can at least get this thing looking good and on the ground. Let's get cracking. That's exactly what I'm talking about, folks. We're now underneath the car, showing you guys now the trans mount bracket. Now I told you guys that you had to cut some. Now remember, I told you on every chassis amount it's gonna be different. In this occasion, it does have a little lip. Come over here, you guys are gonna see there's 3 holes that you can literally choose from. So you're going to pick obviously the one where your shifter, your trans is going to line up with it. So you'll see we're gonna move it back and forth. You're gonna pick the one that has the 2 holes, obviously, and you'll go and re-drill. So that's what I was telling you guys. And once you have the motor mount, you already have the dimensions now for this, so you don't really have to go underneath your car all the time. You can just go ahead, find your spot, put this under here. And like I said, once everything is mated up, you'll see, obviously it's not bolted to it, but you guys are gonna be able to get an idea on how much of a spacer you need to cover that gap. So like I said, it's about 1.5 inches. And then you will just sandwich it all together and it'll all rest down on the trans mount bracket and not move. At the name of the game, that's what a bracket's doing. It's allowing the transmission to stay solid and allow it to move if it happens to flex. So if you want to go ahead and reinvent the wheel, go ahead and do so. In this case, this works just as well and the job gets done. And like I said, you're able to service it at the end of the day. Let's get to it. And it looks like we don't have to cut grinding, but we do have to make a bracket. Let's show you guys what we do. I am the people. Calculations are a little off. It's all good. Need a bolt roughly around 5 inches. Obviously my calculations were definitely off. You go to put your motor mount on there, go through your holes, and then obviously go through the trans and the bracket, and then the box you'll make to obviously bump up another 1.5 inches or so. You'll go, and this is where now the trans will sit, and you'll just bolt everything down and it'll all be sturdy. And now when you need to go service it, take your bolt out, obviously lift your trans up with your jack, slip your mount out, even if you blew it up or you're trying to upgrade it. You can go with a billet one, you can go with a polyurethane one, you can now upgrade, you don't have to stay to an OEM one. Where opposed if you made a kind of a custom one, if it did happen to blow out on you, you have to make that custom one again. This one, just walk around the zone, go grab a 240 trans mount, slap it back in, and you're good to drive. Let's go make that box. Let's go see what else we can get done for today. You guys can see over here, we got the bolt in. We'll just go ahead and tighten it down. It's all sandwiched in. And now the trans will be lined up to wherever you obviously had everything drilled out. And then that's how you'll basically be making your trans mount bracket to fit into your 720 chassis with your KA transmission. So moving on to the next thing, now we just need to get the slave cylinder all situated. You can use the OEM one, but in this situation we do want to upgrade just because these have been on the cars for 30 plus years. So we'll go ahead and just upgrade to a 241. Another little trick too is for the manual cars only, you actually can still use the speed sensor. It'll just screw right into the 241 and your speedometer will actually work. Speedometer only, not tach. That's the wiring that we showed you on the previous videos. So we've already said we've got this situated. Now you guys can obviously tell we got the Bluetooth drive shaft. No need to fear, Inland Empire is here. They'll be making us a custom drive shaft. Always done for our KA 2720 chassis and as well as the 240s. That being said, we were waiting for a call for some other stuff, so that is on the big list. Last thing but not least, under here, the big loud fuel pump. We are waiting for that to come in with these fuel tanks. Since we don't really like to do a custom in fuel tank just because they do the bed dancing, we will obviously accommodate to an external fuel pump that obviously can go to 40 plus PSI. So we're just waiting for that. Let's go ahead and lower this car because I'm sick of looking at all this wiring that me and Terry are gonna have to redo because I know once it leaves here, I'm not gonna be able to go to sleep. So do not give a shit for that. We will be going through this system, but first off, we need to make sure this thing runs and drives, because on the very first video, we were putting along, weren't we, gang? Let's get the spiral jack off the trans. Because now it's supporting by its own. Look at that, doesn't even drop. Let's get this thing on the ground, baby.
All right, so while Jack was taking care of the undercarriage, I was cutting out that seat, so now we can test fit the seat, mock it up, and make sure where Jack put the shifter and where I cut out the seat, it's gonna fit perfect. So with that being said, as you guys can see, the interior is a lot more cleaner than the last time you guys saw it. So, I know I'm not a little detailer, but looks a lot better. Full 9-day difference. So we got the wires all tucked away. They're all labeled and organized on where they need to go. So now we can go get the seat and test fit the seat and see exactly how good it fits.
There it is. We're sitting in comfort.
I got the armrest.
Some guys are probably wondering, man, you guys did cut a little bit more out than you need. No. We want to make sure we've got enough room so we can actually shift gears comfortably so we're not ramming into the seat. So we'll go ahead, they'll go through and do the interior, get all piped, restitched, do their little flavor. But now we know that when we go and bang gears and they get the seat upholstered, it's not going to damage either or. We good to go.
We even hooked up Marlin, threw in a little bit of short shifter action in here.
Short shifter. Oh yeah, you're gonna need it too. Look, armrest and shift gears while on the phone.
What's cracking? What's bracking?
It's great. So we've got the interior now situated. Last but not least, unfortunately, it is more freaking wiring. Damn. So we gotta go now and get the engine wiring all situated, get that all cleaned up, ran into the cabin through the firewall, make sure that it's clean as possible to Terry Thornberry Performance specs. You guys won't be seeing that, unfortunately, but you guys will be seeing some more stuff when we come on back. So let's head on out of this cabin and let's show you guys the engine bay for the last time until you guys come back on the next episode, baby.
And we're still not scaled free, sailing free, because we still have to fix the airbag wiring as well. So.
Damn, Junior. You gotta hit me like that, huh? More freaking wiring.
More wiring.
Alrighty, so we are now in the engine bay. Like we've already said, I was in the cabin. We're showing you guys off the rest of the little pieces now to get this thing finalized. So hopefully you guys come back and you guys now see the final product. Moving on now, we need to, obviously, like I said back there, get the fuel pump situated. That being said, we need fuel lines now to obviously go from the fuel pump to the motor. We've already made sure everything's all nice and clean, but we need to make sure that we get the proper fuel lines. Definitely have to situate some of the wiring like Terry's already mentioned before, but unfortunately, we definitely got a lot of things that we need to do before this thing starts up, so you will not be seeing on this video. Wrapping it up, we've got to do the headers. We got to make sure that's all nice and clean, so Hernan's got a little bit of work to do because this thing's a lot lower than Fred. And on top of that, tell him, what does he want on top of the exhaust? Not even on top, what does he want for the exhaust?
We're gonna do a little bit of TTP flavor action. We're gonna do a little side pipe exit.
Side pipe, wall laying frame. The other one was really pinched shut, so me and Terry got some work to do on that. You guys have already seen the wiring inside the engine bay, so that's already situated. It's now moving on to the engine wiring. I've already got that behind me. I gotta get that situated and run through. So me and Terry definitely got a little bit of work to get done, but unfortunately, we're not out of the woodworks yet because we still need an intake and a radiator. So when you guys come back on the next episode, you guys are gonna see all that buttoned up because you guys don't have to worry about that. You guys just have to come back and see the progress. Anything that me and Terry get stuck on, we'll make sure to show you guys, but until further notice, we're wrapping this up because me and Terry got a bunch of work to do and we gotta do some errands, unfortunately. Hope you guys liked and enjoyed this episode. We are not done with Poison Ivy yet, and I told you guys before, we are on Mini Truck Madness Month, baby. We got a couple of mini trucks that we need to get done. We've already seen Fred, we've already seen Queen, Poison Ivy, and we've got, what do we want to call the burgundy one outside? The Red Rocket. We got that situated. We've also got a couple other Nissan numbers if you want to guess in the comments below. Like I said, they're below 720, so comment on what you think. We've got more to go. And nope, they're not stock motors. So come on back to Terry Thornberry Performance. You guys will always be entertained. Hopefully you guys are having fun, because if not, we're not having fun.
We appreciate all the support, and Jack and I will be headed out to Arizona next week to go pick up a 4x4 that we're gonna be doing our KA swap in.
When I tell you, another mini truck madness month, baby. But isn't it November? Nah, for us, we start our months whenever we want. And today, it's a mini truck. So we'll wrap up this video. Hope you guys liked and enjoyed. If not, we'll see you guys at the track. We'll see you guys on the street. If not, we'll hopefully see you guys at the shop, baby. Until further notice, peace out. Have a great rest of the week, baby. Woo! Happy holidays as well to all of you guys. Woo!